Good morning, everybody. Today, we're working on Ron Fortier's project, Airship 27, and we're going to be doing some work with the illustrations for the book for Silver Pentacle right after this. Computer. Lights. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to 2021 and day 2 of week 2. So this is Tuesday, the 5th of January, 2021. And I was going to have a quote for you today, but I don't know where I put it. I put it somewhere. I put it on a pack somewhere, and I have lost it. So we don't have a quote for today. So today is brought to you by those who say, plan properly. Okay. Moving right along. Let's go ahead and head over to the main line. We're going to work with, we're going to warm up. More warm-ups for today. There we go. Here we are. Okay. Take a normal pencil and just a straight edge ruler. I like to use what we call an engineering scale. And the scale is great because it can be easily picked up. Once I put it down on the paper, I can pick it up easily. It's not hard to pick up. I often say I'm sure there's a bunch of engineers who would love to be, or probably cringe whenever I say that I use a scale for these things, but that's okay because artists and engineers, we're in the same field. I'm going to draw a couple of lines like this. We're going to make a bump apparently. We'll go over here and do the same thing. We're going to do a couple of distance drawings here. Start and end. And start and end. Now, I use just a normal French curve here for this. And the truth is, I think everybody should work on whatever they're needing to work on the most, right? For me, it's staying on the curves. Right? I have a hard time drawing freehand curves. So that's why I do that. Again, what I use for this is a normal number 4 pen, and this is just a fine liner, and it's a 0.4. And what we're going to use that for is because you want to use this as much as possible. Yesterday I showed you how to do it with a ballpoint. The truth is the ballpoint feels completely different. It has a completely different feel. It operates differently. And so, I mean, use ballpoints if you have to. Absolutely. Ballpoints are better than nothing. However, there's a different feel when it comes to a fine liner. So you really kind of want to make sure you make it to a fine liner somewhere along the line. So here we go. We're going to take this fine liner, and again, make sure your elbow is off the table, make sure your wrist is off the table, and you start here and you draw a line, and you keep going. And what we're doing here is we're training these muscles right here and these muscles right underneath here. We're training those muscles to be fine, controlled muscles. We're training them not to wobble like this, you know. We're training them to stay steady on the course. We're also training it not to be heavy. You don't want to be pressing down, right? Because you're getting used to lifting. And this is, of course, a lot of painters. You'll see the painters, you know, the painters will sit there and do with their hands up and the easels at a angle, right? Well, that's what we're trying to train our hands to do. A lot of us, especially comic artists, we start out, you know, drawing in front of the TV set or whatever. There we go. Like that. There. And I usually do about 4 each. Same thing goes for here to here. We're departing this zone and arriving at this zone. So we're going to go here, and you're going to move your eyes and look there. Don't look where your pin is. Look where your depart or where your arrival is. And it's okay if you don't make it or if you wobble. That's the whole point. Practice now, right? Okay, now the hard part for me. Yeah, those are all really rough. All right. I've forgotten what date it is, and I even said it. Right? Alrighty. Let's go back to the desk. Let's see what we got going on here. All right, so we're going to work today on the next illustration for the Silver Pentacle, written by Nancy Hansen. Now, this is a very complex sequence and has lots of people in it, and critters and creatures and things like that. So I went on ahead and rolled up a whole bunch of dudes in Dad's studio for this, just so I could get where we're going on this. And we're going to go on ahead and start the pre-drawing by drawing in all of these guys, just sketching in where they are. I've got 2 layers of ink on here. I've got our hero, because I'm probably going to have to blow him up or expand him in some way, because he looks a little flat here. And then I've got these guys, our homies, yeah? We're going to go in here and take our pen and just finish off this. And this is a scythe. So there will ultimately have to be a blade like this to it, right? And we'll get back to that. All of these guys are demons or, you know, evil things or whatever. So I'm just going to mark where their eyes are, where their nose is, and where their mouth is. Because we're going to have to come back later and decide what all of these guys are. Are they demons? Are they, you know, whatever? This guy's extra Arnie. So we're just going to do this, and all I'm doing is just marking where all of the landmarks are. We're going to come back to this later. Right. This guy's extra buff. You can see he's extra buff. He's some huge monster of buffiness. He's not buffy though. Right? So abdominals, the trapezius. He's got some serious musculature going. Whoa, I just drew on somebody. Here we go. Now, I don't know how these guys are going to be dressed, or if they're going to be dressed, or anything. So, since we haven't gotten to that stage yet, I'm going to go ahead and put in all the geography on their bodies. I think this guy, he's the big bad. I think he's going to be dressed. But these guys are just demons back here. They may just be fur. We don't know. Go. We're just putting in all of these lines. I am assuming they will have either footwear or cloven hooves of some form or another. So we will. Since this is a rough, I'm not worried about my lines being 100% accurate. We're going to have to come back through on all of these lines anyway, so I'm not terribly worried. This guy might be claws, so I'm going to go on ahead and detail in where his hand is, because like I said before, hands. Nobody likes hands. They all hate them. It was interesting, I did this, and then my son observed that there were no women. And I wondered what that meant. I mean, not what he meant. I understood what he meant just fine. But it occurred to me that I wonder why I decided not to put any women in here. And I guess, because demons would theoretically be both. So, in my justification, he just happened to have a glitch in the HR department. And it just happens that all of his demons happen to be male. So, Here we've got a converging tangent right here. Make sure you remind yourself that these are fingers and that there's a separation there. Once we pull out this underdrawing and it goes away, once that happens, it's going to be hard to see where everything is if you don't complete all the drawings. So we'll need to do that. Looks like his head's not there. Let's go back and fix that. Because step one, we use the underdrawings for. But the truth is, we don't want to pull back on the underdrawings any more than we have to. Right? We don't want to have to come back to these underdrawings. So, once we are done here, we're going to kill the underdrawing. We're just completing all of this. And again, remember to put this in here. All the little details of the anatomy that you need before this goes away. Because once we kill the underdrawing, we're going to start working on the overdrawing here. And make sure all of our lines are in. They are. Okay. Everybody's lines are together and with it, yes. So we'll pull this out. It's easier to see once this is 100%. All right. This just makes it a lot easier for us to do all of these. Why are you not playing? The music, it are not playing. That was weird. Now the music's playing. All right. That's all right, Brent. Totally cool. We're working on yet another illustration for Silver Pentacle here. Doesn't show your... I find this so fascinating. You out on Twitch as well, Brent? Or are you just coming in on Facebook? All right. So, here's what I'm looking at when I look at this picture. He is wielding a device or an object or a thing. And I really want him to be more prominent in this picture. And I'm okay if he eclipses that guy there, right? Facebook only. So there's somebody out on Twitch who is hanging with us, which is cool. Hello, person out on Twitch. And that's awesome. So I wanted to make him more prominent. I want you to be able to see him. So I'm doing this with just a little bit more of, just making sure he's in the right position. And it's actually good because we could put him all the way up here. We get a nice kind of round color to this. And that'll be good there. So we can go ahead and sort of figure this out. Also, his device, the thing he's holding here, is front and center, right in the middle, but also the scythe is going to be front and center in this. So this is composition work on this particular picture. And it's okay if the rest of these guys are not quite lined up, like they're, like this guy's going to be half eclipsed and stuff like that. That'll be fine. But this is a little bit more dramatic of what I'm looking for anyway, right? So there we go. So here's what we've got to do. These guys have got to be demons and critters of the underworld and yada, yada, yada. Everybody but this guy. This guy is a normal dude, sort of. He's a fallen angel. So we're going to put him in like a cloak or something like that, but he's just hanging here, and he's, he's doing the, yeah, no problem, dude. Totally. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do that. So the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to go on to the second layer here, and we're going to just take this part of this guy out so that I won't get confused, and then we'll merge these two together. Right? Now we've got one layer of all of this first level line work. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blue pen, and we're going to go in here, and we're just going to define objects in here, like his hair, right? We know that since this is our main character dude, he's got that wild hair. It says it in the book. So if you're wondering what this is about, there is a group out there called Airship 27, and they do, it's run by Ron Fortier, who has written a number of comics in his day, including Green Hornet comics and other things like that. And he has worked with Alex Ross and kind of like that. Now he's sort of in a semi-retired state, living here in Colorado. And before COVID, we would get together in Fort Collins to discuss things like comics and design and drawing. And he will give tasks to people who are forking a light socket hair. That's exactly right, Brent. It's like, ah, man, don't do that. Okay. So anyway, so the thing that's great about this is they're reviving the pulp layout. There's some great trails in Fort Collins. Really wonderful. They're reviving the pulp layout where they have books that have inside them image inserts. So you read along and there's a page. It's like the old Nancy Drews and things like that from the the 40s, 50s, 30s, 40s, 50s, they would have prose with inserts. And I'm doing the inserts for this book. This book is it's a book that takes place in a steampunk universe involving, obviously, fallen angels, demons, that kind of thing. So that's what we're kind of headed for here. And this guy, I feel like, has sort of a cloak thing going for him. Right? He's wearing a sort of a cloak and a hood. Oops, I grabbed my tools over here. Don't grab the toolbar. It won't help us any at all. I want to be very careful not to mess around with his hand. I won't be able to tell what my my drawing where my drawing is going if I do that. There you go. So, he's being dutifully unimpressed. And he doesn't realize that the hero is about to do the hero thing. That's okay. Heroes are known for being dutifully, or heroes are known for taking their villains by surprise. Okay? So we're looking at his left arm. He's got a loose cloak on. And so he lifts his arm up like this. The sleeve isn't going to sit up here at his wrist. It's going to just slide down like that. Right? And that's what I'm trying to mimic right here. Is kind of trying to get this sleeve down here. Right? When we talk about cloaks, they open up around the legs for movement. So then he's going to have boots. Right? And these boots will probably, and he's got breeches. And these boots will probably be, in one way or another, tied. I mean, I feel this guy is very medieval. Just reading the passages in the books. All right. I'm going to take and give him just some kind of banding along the side there. He's going to be sharply dressed. He's looking nice. I'm going to put in the wrinkles in the garment here and give just a little bit of, it drapes forward. Right? Now that's in, and he has a scythe, like I said, he's carrying a scythe. And I actually kind of feel like everybody should be looking, except for him. All the little guys should be looking right here. I haven't decided what we're doing with the amulet yet. He's got this amulet. I'm not sure it's an amulet. My original sketch shows it as a glove. I went back and read the document. I'm not sure it's I'm not sure what it is. So we'll have to make that decision. Okay, so we're looking at all these other guys. They're all actually, you know what? It's risky for me to be doing this directly on the main layer. So let's go ahead and get off that main layer there. And he should be relatively easy. We're just going to flip his head. What? No object to transform. Okay. Right, now he's looking at the amulet. Yeah, his amulet. That's my amulet, man. My amulet's an Akira class starship. Akira class is the best ship. I have adored that class since I'm going to have to redraw him. I've adored that ship since the beginning of since I saw it in the Star Trek. I want to say First Contact, and that's when I first saw that ship, and I have always thought that was the best ship. Oh, good. Yeah, no nose. He's a demon. He's full of muscles and he's got no nose. It's alright. There we go. And sometimes we can just move like their faces over. And that works enough to get started. Because like I said, this is a rough, right? So once we do this, just go back in and adjust the head to fit. I was talking the other day about how somebody had once, a long time ago, back in the 90s, said that I was cheating by tracing. And they were talking about tracing the maquettes from Dance Studio, and it actually like slowed me down for years and years and years and years and years because I had to manually draw all these things when this could have saved us a ton of time. And now and now actually, I realize, first of all, that this saves an epic amount of time to do it this way. Even with things like adjusting the entire face and structure, right? Even with this, this saves me an epic amount of time. And the good news is, all of these guys are demons and, zombies and the like, so the fact that they're not all, clean-faced and stuff like that isn't going to kill us much in this final draft. So, all right. Now we're good. Now we're going to move back to our blue, and let's talk about these guys. Who are these guys? It says they're demons, so we can give some of them horns. Naturally. I don't necessarily need hair. Although I kind of imagine that if you're going to be a demon, you should have like a mohawk. Because, demonic mohawk. The mohawk of the devil. Doesn't even make sense. Right? But we'll put it on there anyway because, maybe he belongs to a biker gang. Give him some kind of chains. Right. There we go. And we'll give him, I don't know, kind of like the idea he's got some kind of high-waisted belt. Right. Right. There's some kind of high-waisted belt, pants of some sort. And this is his right hand. We should put some kind of weapon in there. I'm not sure what. Apparently, I think it needs to be a machete. Or some kind of really large knife. There we go. I got myself a pretty nice cutting blade going on there. Maybe I'll just leave this guy naked. He's just like some monster thing. Give him spikes. Since he's all covered up, it won't matter. They're all demons. You demon people. There we go. And this bruiser right here give him like a weird fish ear thing. He's a monster from the Black Lagoon. He's got bad teeth too. Look at there. And now he's moving on to being Darth Maul. That's okay. Spiky here. Starting to think these high-waisted pants are uniform in one way or another. It gives them the pirate look, right? He's just gonna beat him up with his fists. He's all ready to. And maybe he's got, you know, reason to, right? He doesn't need a weapon. His fists have bony spikes, you know? Yeah, he's gonna beat you up. He's gonna beat you up with his bony spikes. You know, oh, that sucks, you know. It does make eating sushi a little bit more complicated and difficult, but you know, hey, that's okay. We don't judge. Okay, so what do we got with muscles here? Muscles is just muscles. He just crushes you. But he should be like a troll. And they're all giving this, look. Make his eyes a little wider. Right? Fight me, bro. Yeah, he kind of looks like it too. He kind of looks like he's, fight me, do it, fight me, you know, sort of thing. And Muscles here just beats on people. I figure, just like the Hulk, he has a hard time finding pants. The Hulk, by the way, is one of those that even as a kid I thought was ridiculous. I was a kid going, how do they stay on? How did his pants stay on? How did that happen? And when I was a teenager, that moved to She-Hulk, but that was for a completely different intention. Teenagers are teenagers. I'm also seeing converging tangents here, so I'm going to go ahead and extend his elbow out to there, just so that that's not a converging tangent, because that looks miserable right there. So let's get rid of that converging tangent. Okay, we got 3 other guys over here who are needing to be drawn in as big thumpy guys. I mean, this guy, let's see his left hand here. Maybe he's left-handed, but I'm going to go on ahead and give him a big spiky club. It's kind of bent, like this. Right? There we go. And we'll have to wrap his hand around this, certainly. So in the final drawing, he'll have his hand wrapped around like that. And he's ready to beat you with it. He hasn't decided which way it's going yet, but that's okay. And maybe I should fix that, because I do feel like now it just looks weird. As soon as I said it, I realized I had kind of gone the wrong way. So let's talk about this. It's going to go this way. And I actually kind of like the idea that they're carrying blades rather than blunt. I mean, a couple of them are blunt, but this guy's small. I would think he'd go for a blade. So we'll put in a blade. Like that. And we'll work that blade in a minute. And you always, when you're doing drawings, we always start with the things closest to the camera or closest to the artist and move back through the picture. So I'm not going to work on his clothes yet because there's no need to put, I mean, we don't know where his clothes are going to go relative to this sword, right? We're going to be working on this sword, and I'm going to be erasing the sword a couple of times. And when I do, I'm going to come up with different locations for this blade. Right? And so every time I do, and I revise my position until I'm happy with where this position is, I'm not going to want to draw any of the other things that are going on here. These two look like they're about to hold hands. Maybe he's about to steal his sword. That's really what's happening here. This guy's about to steal this guy's sword. Yeah, I'm taking your sword. Brrr. Yeah. Which I find particularly funny. Anyway. So we'll go ahead and I feel like this is a good point of that sword. It looks menacing enough. So we'll go ahead and do that. You may notice that the sword that I picked was a katana, and that's just because my default sword is always a katana. I actually know how to use a katana. That was something that I did when I was younger. And so we've got, he'll be crazy hair too. Not electrical light socket hair, but just crazy wild like this. Right? And I think we'll have to come in here and just kind of work with his face at some point. Figure out what his deal is. There we go. Make sure I remember it. He's barefoot. This Hulk guy. Okay. Move on to Steve over here. I mean, Steve. I don't know what Steve's doing, man. Other than trying to steal Bob's sword. I don't know. So, we'll go on ahead and let's work on Steve. We'll emaciate him a little. These are all demons, so a little bit of emaciation won't hurt him. Right? Steve's angry because the main character took his lunch. Steve has a high metabolism. I mean, you know, if you don't feed him regularly, he just gets hangry. And that's part of his problem. And it's always been Steve's problem all along. Here. We don't critique. But Steve is not happy. Poor Steve. There we go. I think Steve's just going to bite him. Like, what's Steve's main goal here? It's just really just to bite the guy. Now, as this guy, I'd be a little worried, right? Because Steve looks like he might be, into the idea of eating people. And so I'd be concerned. I'll make his uniform droop. That doesn't fit him. Steve's just doing the best he can, man. We don't judge. And give his pants a little bit of a ripple, like it's just barely hanging on there. Really, before this fight started, they were trying to keep his pants on. His pants kept falling off. Now that's added to Steve's angst. As a demon, he's angsty. It's just the way it goes. Just nothing we can do. We do the best we can, Steve. Sorry. Either way, he's mad. Okay. Remember what these are still. Demons. I give him. It's funny. Pointed ears used to be the sign of demons back in the olden days. Right? But now pointed ears just mean Spock. Okay, so he's got, You know what? He's just watching. He's ready for a fight. This guy over here. And really what he's got is the chain on Steve. And that's what it'll do. Steve's chain here. You know, that's what he does. They also mean elf, but I like the fact that pointed ears have just sort of become more of a cultural icon for Star Trek. Most people recognize that. It does not mean that they don't recognize it as elf, and I'm not saying that people don't recognize elf, but it seems to me now, if you do pointed ears, people say, "Are you Spock?" I see that more at conventions. People will be dressed as elves, and people, "What? Are you Spock?" Yeah. Not at conventions anymore, of course, because now people at conventions are actually like reasonable people. Okay, our ragtag group of nasties here, they actually are turning out pretty decent. I'm pretty happy with them. So what we're going to do, we're going to add ourselves a new raster layer. We're going to fill it with white. Bring it down. Right? We'll come up with a new raster layer on top of that. And what we're going to do is we're going to retrace this, but only we're going to do what we did yesterday. We're going to retrace in on the lines. We'll start up here. Right. This is where we're extra careful. Excuse me. Ah. I'm allergic to the second layer. And we'll go ahead and do this. There we go. Give him his wild hair. So we're behind him. So we want to make sure now that we're behind him, we want to bring this ear in and do it like this. There we go. Thank you. I like awesome typos. Like, that's an awesome typo. And we've gone from bless you to bleeze you. And I think I'm going to start telling people bleeze you, because I like that. That's funny. All right. Now, when I do this, I'm going to vary the pressure so that we get what looks like a live line, right? Or bees to you. Bees you. Lights have turned green, which is actually good because I kind of need to go blow my nose. Everybody, let's go on ahead and stand up and first save all your work. Always save your work. Save often. Okay. Let's go. Stand up. All right. And let's stretch. We've been working for an hour. Pop all the joints. Ooh, I need that. Go for a little walk around the area real quick. Come back around. Take a look outside. Actually, it's a really lovely day outside. Pretty impressive, actually. I figure that won't last forever. We will still have February and March coming up. Right? So, hey, loosen up the wrists. Make sure you stretch this area. So, all right. And the microphone bees you. And let's get back to work. So, one of the things I'm trying to do here is try to define the shirt and where the shirt's coming around there. And remember that we're probably going to put a background into this. So, we want to make sure that there's no gaps between the shirt, which will be right here, right? And our hero. And we can gap inside, but here we really can't afford to gap. We have to make sure it's sealed. Otherwise, if you fill an area, it fills the entire area, right? Like that. And we don't want it to do that. So, unlike the other guy, on this particular thing, our hero does have cuffs on the front of his shirt. So I need to make sure that I go back here and put cuffs on the shirt. All right, like that. Varying the pressure on the pin gives us a more realistic look to the line, and it gives more life to the line. The line looks richer. When we ink, you want to make sure that you're not inking you're not just giving the same line to everything. So we vary the pressure. And usually we vary the pressure as we come around the edges of things. Right. And it makes it look rich. And he's wearing a belt of some sort. And then we'll come back down here. And then we finish that line off like that. And now what we've got is some varying lines give some life to it if you look without the undercarriage here. Right? If you just look at just that, it's got rich lines. They're rich, they're active, they're moving, something's happening with those lines. So that's what we're after there, is that look. Okay? Next thing we're going to do, we're going to come in here and deal with this. First, we're just going to put a line there to indicate the seat of his pants. And maybe a seam so it doesn't seem like he's just naked there. He's wearing a thing. So it's not unseemly. I think I'm clever. Okay, so I have decided between the time that I actually took this and did this and now kind of made the decision to have this a dangling ornament. So we're going to run the line over his hand here, and he's going to put his thumb on it right here. That's what he's doing. He's holding the amulet's chain right there. And I could just have it dangling straight down and have it right there, but the truth of the matter is it would be alive. It'd be moving, right? Because he'd go pantsless, right? Nobody will fight you if you are not wearing pants. But I am going to move this like that. And the chain then is going to be indicating like that. We're going to move it back like this. And make the object here. Okay? There we go. And that gives it like he just dropped it. Whap, right? It's come down. It's just... It's like bouncing at the bottom of that chain. It's moving. There's life to it. And that's one of the big things. We really want to give it life. We want it to be active. He's about to do something with this. He's been wearing it around his neck, and now he's got it out like a weapon. And what we'll probably do is add a glow effect to this so that there is light coming out from here. But this is a 2-day job, and I know that. I know that we're going to be doing all of the finish up work tomorrow, or rather Thursday, because tomorrow is Wednesday. And for Wednesday, I want to do painting. And so I want to start doing sort of a regular painting job every Wednesday so that we've got painting going. Even if it's kind of goofy and weird and strange, I want to kind of have the tradition of painting going. So that's what we're going to do. So, okay. Okay, so that pause there was while I was thinking it through. Where are we? I guess we'll just start left to right and just move down the line. So we'll start with Hidden Guy. He's got spikes, but I don't, you know what? I really don't want him on the same layer. That's what I was actually pausing for. I was like trying to think. I think I want to ink these guys to a different layer, and I'll tell you why. When we're done with all of this, I think I'm going to do these in 2 different layers so that the crew behind him is just watching. And then I can do things that interrupt that layer, like the glow effect. So let's go ahead and put this guy in a different layer. We're just going to go in here and put in all of the spikes. There we go. All of these guys are angry with teeth. Which, you know, that's the name of my band. Angry with Teeth. There we go. All right, so Mr. Angry with Teeth here. We don't have to worry about anything past here because of the butcher's knife. Right. And it's got a big butcher's knife. Yeah. We'll let this finger stick out, but this finger has to hold the knife. And so does the next one. And perhaps the last one, which will be right here. I don't know how, as a demon, you make it this far. I also don't know where this blade is going. Because now I'm looking at it and it's not lined up at all, right? It's not lined up. So let's go ahead and line this thing up. Because he's going to be holding it like this. There we go, much more appropriate. There we go. Big old butcher's knife. It's a cleaver. Maybe he's the smartest of the group. That's why he's got a cleaver, because then it's a clever cleaver. Yeah. Be here all week, try the pot roast, you get the idea. All right. And we'll come around here. So, the deltoids all tie in right up here on top of the collarbone. They tie into the collarbone in the front, they tie into the traps in the back, and this area here is the trapezius. And that's, well, actually, it's this area right down here. So all of these areas are all tied together, but this front part right across the collarbone, the clavicle, right there, that seems to always be indented. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of putting that indentation right across here. Right? So he's got sort of this And I am intentionally being rough on the ink because I want this to feel uncomfortable. Right? I want these guys to feel unpleasant. They are not nice guys. They're the equivalent of pretty much a gang. And so I really want this to be uncomfortable. The lines aren't going to match up. Unlike our hero, which I've done all my lines really straight and clean, these guys are... He is going pantsless, this guy here, remember? So... there we go. And this is how he's being intimidating over here, is this guy's being pantsless. Okay, next real important question will be whether this guy should be on the same layer as this guy or not. Really, the truth is, I don't know what layer he should belong on, so I'm going to make him on his own layer. And we'll worry about him later. Okay, so we'll finish working with our clever cleaver. We'll call him Beaver. Hey, Beav. And we'll make sure he is completed out here. Right? We'll come up here and finish his face. There we go. Just like that. His little weird mohawk. You know, this guy's kind of stuck in the 80s, and he's got an 80s problem, and we don't judge. We really just don't judge. Right? We just don't judge. Huh. Let's see here what's over on this side. And that is odd. I show the connections solid. What I don't show is what's going on my personal page. Like, my personal page has never really worked. Which is kind of sad, but, you know, I've kind of gotten acclimated. But my personal page just doesn't seem to work. I don't know why. But, you know, moving over to Geek Tank's fine. Broadcasting it on Geek Tank gives me, you know, something that's working every day out there on Geek Tank. So that's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm sorry that it's not working on my page, though. That is kind of strange. There we go. Let's get in here really close. Yeah, a little too close. And we'll do... Because nothing says demon like cat eyes. Now he's snarling. Man, Beeve, what's your problem? Right. Beeve apparently has issues. He looks mean. Anytime you slice a frost dragon, unless you have a plus 20 sword, you're just asking for it. That's all I'm saying. I'm just, just saying. Maybe you should have oh, you know what he needs? He needs a mullet. Demons have mullets. I only say that because I'm an 80s kid. And when I was a demon, I had a mullet. He has a mullet now. There we go. I like him. He looks, I don't know, orcish. Join the Orcan army. Something, something, something. He's an orc. There we go. The good news is, after this, we're going to go back to working on Fred's pieces again. And I feel like being able to draw orcs and things like that. You had a rat tail. I did too, ultimately. It was beautiful. And I was working in television at the time. I say that because back in those days, back when I was young, when the earth was new and the flowers bloomed. Back in those days, I worked in engineering, and they had these 1-inch reel-to-reel video players. And you'd put the reel on and you bolt it in. Then you thread the videotape through the heads and then pull it up onto a take-up reel and then slide it in. And then you hit go, and once you hit play on the videotape machine, the heads would come up onto the videotape and the tape player would start running. Then you'd check to make sure all the colors were correct and everything like that. Then you'd give the signal to the editing booth that the tape was ready. And it was back in those days. And the way we would do that, we had an intercom system between the booth upstairs and the engineering bay, and we'd just tap the transmit button twice. So just bap, bap. And that's how he knew. He would say, give me tape number 14 on machine number 2. And we'd go look for tape number 14 in the editing set. And we'd go put it on machine 2. And there were 6 1-inch machines. And 3 3/4-inch machines. A whole bunch of VHS that were behind me. The bays were really cool. Anyway, the long story short, you'd put that up there, and I had this rat tail, and the other engineers were just like they had a pool, because those machines, those 1-inch machines, moved fast, and they would shuttle really quickly, and we'd be throwing those tapes up as fast as we could. It was a sort of a point of pride. We were all strapping young men, and so we were all full of testosterone and competitiveness. So it was like a rare, how fast can you throw these things up on machines and hit go and hit all the stuff. So anyway, they were worried that I would get the rat tail caught in it, which I thought was funny. I never did. Never did. It's always too late for my long story shorts. I like long stories. Looks like he's got pearls. Clutch your pearls. I'm noticing now that you're on the Geek Tank page, Brent, you're now making Troy jokes. I'm just saying, but, you might be infected. I'm just, for your own good, you might be infected with a Troy. I don't know. It could happen. Getting infected by Chelsea is a different story. If you're infected by Chelsea, you just curse at all your games. And you get mad at EA. That's how you know you have a quantifiable Chelsea infection. But if you're making quips, yeah. That's true. We do have Star Trek, boy. We are at the very end of the season, too. Oof. It is getting rough. I am having a hard time waiting for next week. I want to know what's happening. There we go. Give him some chains to deal with. Our little orc guy over here. Kind of like him. He's kind of funny. Call the Orcan army. All right. Okay. I'm going to come up here. The scythe is part of somebody else, so I don't need to worry about that. We'll go over here to this guy. Mr. I can beat you up with my own 2 fists. Right. There we go. Maybe he fancies himself to be Wolverine, you know? I'm Wolverine! You're not really Wolverine. You're like a second-rate henchman here. I mean, I'm just saying, you know. He thinks he's Wolverine, but he really isn't. You know, he wants to be Darth Maul. He really does. He just wants to be Darth Maul. And he wants to be Wolverine or whatever, but the truth is he's balding and he's middle-aged. And, you know, he's got to just accept his position in life. And, you know, sometimes you kind of have to just do that. You know, you can't be Wolverine. You can't be the star all the time. So he's having a hard time acclimating. We don't want to judge. But it is making him angry, and, you know, and you can see that he's decided to join the henchman clan here, and, you know, I get that. I get that. You know, I can understand this. This is, it's tough. It's tough. I feel for the guy, you know. And he wants to be cool. But, yeah, Sometimes you're the henchman. And I get that. It's a thing. There we go. Not sure what's going on up here. There we go. There we go, yeah. Fishy swath scales on his ear. Around here. I say that. I've never really had Vichyssoise, so I really don't know. I just like the name Vichyssoise. It sounds cool. So, always that. Yeah, he's, and he's probably also grumpy because it's hard to sleep when you have big spikes sticking out of your shoulders. You really can't be a side sleeper. You have to be a back sleeper. And I could see this being an issue with him. I mean, think about it. If he sleeps on his side, especially if he has something like a water bed or a sleep number bed, he just ends up with a puncture there, and then he wakes up and he's gurgling and drowning slowly. And this just makes him mad. I can see that. I get that. I get it. I do. Either way, sympathy for this guy. I've got some sympathy for him. He's just mad. And I get it. Right? I mean, the saddest part about this, Frank, is that there's just, we wanted to give you a promotion from henchman first class to henchman sergeant henchman, and the truth is, your work's just not up to speed. I don't mean to give you a demotion or anything. It's not like you're a bad worker or anything. You did beat up those goons the other day, and and there was Little Red Riding Hood, and we have to talk about that a little bit. But hey, other than that, it's not been bad. It's not like your work is horrible. But I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling like you've got the chops for leader. You're just going to be stuck at henchman first for a while longer. It's okay. Truth is, Frank, we can use more people like you. We need those lower ranks. We just need them. How do we keep the hench army running if your lower ranks are out? So it's not like you're just useless or anything. I'll tell you what, Frank. We'll give you a slight pay raise. One extra hero's head in your soup every so often. I mean, honestly, the thief and the druid, that incident had to go on record. I mean, I couldn't just keep that from the boss. There's just nothing we could do, Frank. I'm sorry. And then, frankly, that, shows up poorly on your record. Have you, thought of maybe a different bed? Stop sleeping in the waterbed? I don't know. I just, just spitballing here. But we now know that's why Frank is so mad, is that, Yeah, see, Frank just always goes into a horrible downward spiral when we bring up the bard. It's not pretty. All right. Here's the thing. We got Thug here. The thing about Thug is he's actually, he's been working pretty hard on those lawyer classes from Harvard. So, it's in theory he, might have his law degree by the end of the year. If so, he's totally leaving. I mean, and we all know it. Everybody knows it. It's sort of a known secret around the office. He's been working on his degree for a long time. Good old Thug here. What's most irritating about Thug is that he keeps correcting people's spelling. It's always been his issue. Right? And the Thug here is starting to look very much like Hellboy. That's alright. I'm going to intentionally not complete that line. Man, can you imagine trying to sleep with these? I think Thug just lays down backwards, straight up, and just lays there. That's the thing. We all know that Frank over here, he got a trash degree, and we don't want to rub it in, but he should have chosen a better degree, and that's a thing, and it really is, and that's a problem, and he needs to own up to it. If you're gonna have a degree, you need to own up to the fact that your degree is useless if it's useless. It's just the way it goes. Right? Okay. There we go. Sorry, Frank. There's just nothing we can do for you. There we go. Just clean this up. Right? He's like, well, I got a big horn thing on my head. There's lots of jokes here, but they're not PG-13, so. Tim Curry is awesome. Tim Curry is certainly a legend in his own right. There we go. Just like that. Excellent. And we're just kind of coming around here, filling out these deltoids here. And into the biceps and the triceps. This guy is huge bulk. So he's all bulk. I mean, even though he has his degree in law that he's working on, we won't talk about that because, really, honestly, once he gets that degree, we all know he's leaving. We'll get him a nice cake and maybe a card or two. So, that's a thing. But the truth is, we know he's leaving, and we're going to be sad. Even if he does correct our spelling, it's still a sad day when they leave. That's the thing. It's adding in all of these muscle groups. There you go. Right? Arnold in the 80s. That's where he is. Arnie. The thing about this guy is that, even though he's huge, when you get him a cake at the end, he doesn't eat it because, he's watching his weight. He's watching what he intakes and stuff like that. So have to kind of be thoughtful of that. If you get him a cheap donut, he's just gonna eat it, and then he'll be mad at himself, and he gets kind of grumpy about that. So, I mean, I appreciate that. I do. I completely appreciate that. There we go. Oh, I went over into Frank over here. And we'll have to pull that back. This actually kind of will look good because it'll look like it's sticking out a little bit more over here. But we don't want those lines to converge. It'll confuse people. Okay. Like I said, there's so many characters in here, so many people. This is going to continue on to tomorrow. We've got about 10 minutes left of the show. I'm going to try to finish up Thug here. So I'm just letting my pen drop in really nice and solid at the very end of these lines. And it gives light to the top and shadow to the bottom. All right. All right. And we've got only about halfway through the inking process on this guy. That's what I'm looking at here. Which is good. We're doing fine here. Kind of getting that in pretty well. I like the fact that this guy and this guy are looking at this like, the hell is that? And he's like, oh no, I just work here, you know, sort of thing. So that kind of looks cool. I like that. I think I'm going to keep this guy looking at him, because I think that the what we want here is we want the bad guy looking at the good guy, kind of like they're staring them down. We're coming along nicely on this piece. We'll continue it tomorrow, naturally. I think that's just you. Yeah, I'm going to add another layer. It's this guy. So we'll come back in and do the big bad tomorrow. So that'll work. And I think that's where we are for the day. I feel like this is a good stopping point. We've finished Thug. We've got Frank. And we know where we're headed with Steve. We know. And I think that's going to be good. I think we're working here. The other thing is I want to go back through the book and read where they are. Where are these guys? What are they doing? So we'll do that as well. So that's where we are. I'm looking at this and I'm just like, It depends on what era. So, are you talking about your Akira? Because if you're talking about that Akira, they're generally eggshell blue. And that's actually what it's called. It's a very, very, very light blue. But traditionally, that's what we paint them. It's just that the lighting of next gen and eras like that have gotten to the point where they are... they're not as... the lighting makes it not as obvious. The Akira, though, I feel like was silver. Like it was... There was a... Yes, so go for a white primer. Always go for a white primer on it. And the Akira... So the Borg fighters were a set of 4 ships that were designed to fight the Borg. And it was the Defiant, the Akira, the Steam Runner, the Norway class. Oh, there was 5 of them, wasn't there? Because there was also the Saber. And those were the 5 classes of ship that were built specifically to fight Borg. Of those, I feel like only the Defiant came out in eggshell blue. The rest of them were silver. No, I see now that I think about it, the Norway Steam Runner. The Steam Runner wasn't. Steam Runner was silver. Yeah, So I feel like, and the problem is I'm not sure whether the Akira got back, like they reversed her. I'll look it up. I can't tell whether they reversed her or like retroed her because she looks so much like the NX-01, which, by the way, that is intentional. Yeah, no. She looks like she was eggshell. I'm just looking at her, the actual picture of the Thunder Child. And I feel like the Thunder Child was definitely eggshell. You may find, though, that eggshell makes her look too blue. And you may want to go for a hull gray. The gray that they used for toss was slightly green. It's just a touch of green, gray, right? And that's lighting. The question is whether the Akira model itself was. I'm looking for that. No, I feel like looking at the original drawings, she was in fact a light gray. So hull gray with dark gray accents and dark blue. So she has the same coloring scheme as the Reliant. Looks like. So look up Miranda class. Well, I don't know. I mean, then again, here's a drawing, and the original drawing here shows her in eggshell. Hard to make that call. Because I think she was originally designed by. Yeah. So what I might recommend, because here she is in sort of that green hull, I'd recommend going gray, like a light gray, with a touch of blue in it, just a touch. And that should get you close to what we're looking at here. Because when I look at the original drawings of her, I've got both the eggshell and the light gray. Yeah. But I think if you put her in eggshell, go customized. The actual color that I would have painted her if it was me, I would have probably put her in my steel gray and with a touch of blue. Just a little bit of blue. So she comes out as So I started with ghost gray. Maybe that's probably a better one. Go with ghost gray and then add a touch of blue. Just enough to put it just a little up on the blue scale. And then do all of her accents in steel gray. That's my thought process. Look at it and, your best judgment. I trust your judgment on this one, but yeah. I know Norway classes were in eggshell. Obviously, the Defiant is in eggshell. But that's the thing. We all had studio models of the Defiant. I'm not seeing a studio model of the Akira. I think she's totally CG. I don't think she actually existed in a studio model. So I am gonna but you can see when you look at the Defiance studio model, and it's hard to see because the camera doesn't want to focus, she is definitely eggshell. And the thing is that even if you take different pictures, people have adjusted the colors, right? I know that the studio model is eggshell blue because that's the color that they've told us to do. That's the paint chip that we have for Galaxy class and for Defiant and the Voyager, Intrepid class. All of those guys all run that eggshell. So I know that's the color it's supposed to be. But when you see her in the show, she looks gray. Chainmail silver might work really well. The problem is that the attack wing model of her is like silver. Like, seriously, hardcore silver. And it's like, meh. And though that works, I don't feel like that's what she was. I don't feel like she was really... I don't know. I'd have to see what somebody out there has the actual color codes for her, and I'll get them for you at some point if I can. But I don't. But you may paint her before that. But still, Akira class rocks. Okay. Well, we've gone on for a few minutes about the Akira class. My favorite class of ship. What gets me is that I don't actually have an Eagle Moss of her, and I really need an Eagle Moss of that ship. Just saying. Eagle Moss. Okay. What? And that's the... Anyway, so there you go. That's my show for the day. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. And we'll do... tomorrow is painting day. So we're going to go over to the table and paint for a while. So if you want to join me on painting, that'd be awesome. I'll have to think about what I'm painting. We'll figure something out. So anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful Tuesday. And remember to keep your eyes on the stars. Bye-bye.